Today we are going to discuss the famous 19th century novel Wuthering Heights, written by Emily Bronte. Wuthering Heights was published in 1847, only a year before the death of the author. The scene of the novel is the bleak moorland country of the West Riding of Yorkshire. In almost every chapter of this novel, there is emphasis laid on the inclement weather, the difficult roads, the marshes and wildflowers and birds of the region. Indeed, as is explained within the novel itself, the very name of the place figuring in the title of the novel means a place which continually weathers the beating of the stormy winds. It may be mentioned that this part of England, though no longer as isolated and inaccessible as then, is still sparsely populated and somewhat desolate. The period of action of the plot of the novel lies in between 1771 and 1802. That is to say, the early years of the Industrial Revolution, as well as the years when France had the Great Revolution and England struggled with it in the Napoleonic Wars, form the historical setting of the action of the novel. There has naturally been a great deal of research as to the sources which entered into the conception of this novel. It is known that Emily read a German tale by Hoffmann, in which a stranger spends the night in a forbidden house, sees a ghost, and later comes to know of the story connected with it. It is also pointed out that Emily heard the story of a neighboring state which came into the possession of a certain Jack Sharp through unscrupulous practices which included marrying a mother and a daughter in succession. It may be seen that Heathcliff's own marriage is dictated by the desire to gain hold of the Linton estate, though for the purpose of wreaking revenge, and that he marries his sickly son to the daughter of the woman he had loved for the same purpose. Many other sources and influences have been suggested, and it is possible that all of them had their role in suggesting some element of her own story to Emily Bronte. The basic idea of the novel is contained in the scene in which we see Heathcliff, who has been attracted by the cry of the uninvited guest Lockwood late in the night, flings open the window and requests the ghost of Catherine to come in. The whole scene is described in one brief, matter-of-fact, hasty paragraph. The theme is thus of love that defies death, and it has been placed in a setting which has a threefold contrast built into it. In the first place, there are narrators who are on the whole unsympathetic to one or even both of the chief actors in it. The environment which hems in the story is, in appearance, brutal and uninviting. There is much to suggest that this basic theme had its origins in the author's own family circumstances, as proved also by the contents of some of the poems she wrote round about the year 1840, when she is generally supposed to have started the writing of this novel. One of the most important influences in the family background of the Brontes, which left its mark on this novel, is the case of the only son of the family, Branwell Bronte. Some aspects of this brother's character appear in the cynical, self-pitying Edgar Linton. Other traits of his character are embodied in the hatred and madly jealous love of Heathcliff. Most of all, the disintegration of Hindley's character can be regarded as a replica of the case history of Emily's brother. Both passed from spoiled childhood through recklessness, self-indulgence, and selfishness in their youth of drunkenness, ineffectual violence, impotent rage and despair. The novel did not have a favorable reception at the hands of the contemporaries. One of the chief objections was that the novel had no moral concern and that it exercised a debasing influence on the minds of the readers. Although it is true that Emily Bronte did not have any moral to preach in this novel, and though we also see that Heathcliff holds in contempt the ideas and consolations of conventional religion, it is equally clear that the basic approach of the writer is a religious one. One may say that the novel shows how good and evil coexist, not only in the world, but even within the same character. It also shows that through the humanization of the second generation of Hareton and the second Catherine, how good can eventually conquer evil. Love is all demanding, but also all conquering. It defies death and change. Even Heathcliff is baffled to see that Hareton, who seems to be an incarnation of his own past, passes out of the range of his revengeful schemes, for he has inherited the bewitching eyes of his father's sister, the first Catherine. Wuthering Heights is the only novel in English literature of whom one may confidently speak as being without a parallel. Thank you.